guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and it is bright and early because I just went out to the greenhouse and finally the morning temps in the tubs are warm enough for shrimp. So I'm going to go ahead and catch some shrimp. We'll go out to the greenhouse and get this summer tubbing season started. I'm going to start by catching yellow shrimp. Now these guys are breeding well in the aquarium, but the yield I get outside is always much more impressive. And I'll probably move out 8 or so. Now I'll leave the rest of the group in here to continue breeding indoors, but I'm going to move this group of about 10 yellow shrimp outside to the tubs to get working. I'm going to go capture some blue shrimp as well as some red, and then we'll take a look. So I went around the fish room and just caught a starter colony of each of the types of shrimp I'm going to move out. We have, of course, red cherry, red really, yellow, blue, and then these teeny tiny dudes are Malawi shrimp, which aren't as flashy, but they don't hybridize with other species and they breed really readily. So I've never tried them outside, so I figured we'd give them a shot this year. So let's go out to the greenhouse and get started. So each morning I come out here to the greenhouse and I measure the temperature, and it is 68.5, which is still a bit chilly, but it's about 7 a.m. This one is 71.6, and with it being this early in the morning, that means these tubs are getting plenty warm now to support shrimp. So last year in the greenhouse I had shrimp in these 3 tubs and my yield was insanely good. So I'm going to put shrimp in all 5 bottom tubs and see how it goes. Now I've picked a mix of males and females. Again, a starter colony, which to me means 8 to 10 shrimp. They're a little bit washed out now from being wrangled. I don't have as many of the red Rillies because I haven't been working with them as long, so I grabbed a scoop of their babies as well. They should hit maturity really quickly out here. And again, the Malawi shrimp are teeny, but breed really readily. And then the cherries. And I'm honestly simply going to pour them into each of these bins. I have decent growth happening, like this plant is going gangbusters, that plant is going gangbusters. All of these have seeded really, really well, and they don't have any predators, but they do have teeny tiny little copepods and stuff, as well as the beginnings of some algae, which you can probably see here, which the shrimp will just absolutely adore. Last year they just bred like mad in these tubs, so I'm super excited to get started and get some critters into these tubs. Now I don't know if I should move out this lily. I probably should, but we'll leave it for now. And again, still haven't been able to pick up my plants from the garden center, but they told me yesterday when I stopped by for like the 12th time that the plants should be in today, so I'm really hopeful. So we're going to add the red shrimp to this tub. Again, the tub water is the same as my tap water, so I'm just adding them in there. In the fish room the past few weeks, I have been doing frequent water changes to get my tank parameters as close to my tap as possible. You can see how red these cherries are. Really, really nice shrimp. And already just going to town on that filamentous algae in there. Now these tubs do not have substrate. I only use plants in buckets, and that's so that if I need to spot clean I can, and also so that I can monitor the well-being of the critters I add. We're going to add the red really next to the red cherry in this tub. Same thing. Just make sure I got all the babies out of the container. Already picking at the substrate. You can see in this tub in particular all the little microcrustaceans everywhere. Now in the shrimp tubs, while shrimp will eat some mosquito larvae, I generally have to treat these tubs with my BTIs. Or this stuff. This is Bacillus thuringiensis subspecies israeliensis, which is a bacteria that kills mosquito larvae. It prevents it from developing, and apparently fungus gnats as well, which is probably a good thing in a greenhouse. And it's totally harmless to fish and vertebrates, and it's actually safe for drinking water. So I feel pretty good about using it. I'm not a fan of chemicals, but this is a particularly safe one. All right, next we're going to add the yellows to this bin. Now this bin had yellows last year too. Everybody's out of the container. Settling in great. Now I think last year it took a few weeks for me to start to see fry, and I would expect the same thing this year. But a couple of the females I'm moving out of these various species are buried. Next we'll do our blues. Now you may think it's kind of a waste of space to just put a couple shrimp in these giant tubs. But in my mind, the dilution in these tubs with the small bioload really allows for them to just boom in size and breed really quickly. So, you know, you could, in theory, if you only had one tub, mix species, obviously not of color forms of shrimp, but the goal for me with all these tubs is to get the highest yield possible, as well as not having a difficult time sorting species or fry in the fall when I bring them in. So for me, it's best to just add one species to each tub. It really makes me able to monitor how they're doing. It makes it easier for me when I'm sorting them come fall. And, you know, they'll trust me, they will fill these tubs in time. It's only the end of April, and we probably have until late September with them out here. Again, I'm going to take some of my BTIs and just sprinkle them in each of these tubs, and we'll be good. Now for this, I think you add like, let's see, a teaspoon per 25 square foot, so I just usually sprinkle a small spattering in there. Now probably next week I'll move fish out into these 4 bins. Probably any of the warmer water species I'm going to work with, and then probably mid-May we'll move fish out into the yard tubs. Now while we're out here, I just wanted to show you the progress in the gardens. The flowers are all looking really, really good. This flower on this carnivorous plant is getting ready to open. And really, I'm super freaking geeked, because if we look close at all the carnivorous plants, the Sarracenias, the pitcher plants, in this garden, like this one has 7 flower buds on its own. This one has one about to start. This guy has flower spikes coming up. This guy has flower spikes coming up. This guy has flower spikes coming up. And everything's doing really freaking well. And, you know, there's just something magical about getting plants to flower. Last year I didn't have any flowers in this garden. All the plants were newly planted. So the fact that they're flowering tells me that they're happy where they are. And one of the concerns I had when I built this bog garden is it's not very deep. And carnivorous plants, especially the species I'm working with, these temperate ones, kind of like to have cool feet. So I was worried that it was going to get too hot, but I think the fact that it's concrete is really helping me out here and maintaining the correct temperature. I also wasn't sure if it was going to be deep enough for things to overwinter without freezing solid and dying, and so far so good. Absolutely freaking geeked. Succulents are coming along as well. Still a few that need to wake up. Over at these bins, I've planted some butterfly and hummingbird plants in my planters to attract and support more of the local fauna. Plants are growing well, really well. This water mint is going bonkers. I love it. All my lilies are throwing up lots of pads. You can see there's one at the surface here. Pardon all the sniffles and all the debris on the water surface. The pollen counts are absolutely bananas around here. Everything is yellow. My whole deck is covered with pollen. It's really miserable. But you can see with the nice spring weather, all the plants are coming in really, really well. And I just am super stoked. Now again, I'm going to try and get to the garden store today. I have a bunch of appointments and see if I can't get all my floaters. I'm starting to get a bunch of this gross gloppy algae underwater, and that's just because of too much sun and not enough plant load. So I really do need to get the rest of my plants going in here. Otherwise, I'm just going to have a mess of cleaning out algae. Not that it's detrimental, it's just ugly. Anyway, thanks again to all of those. Thanks again to all of you who have decided to support me on Patreon. It really is amazing and incredible. And if you're interested, the link will be down in the description. Thanks as always for your support, and stay tuned for the next video. Also, pretty soon I'm going to have to get hot on doing my soil mix for all my vegetables. So you can see they're growing quite well, quite quickly. These guys need to be potted. My little broccolis need to be potted. My habaneros and these peas need to be potted. And I need to get these tomatoes in pots. So that's probably going to be what I focus on for the rest of the week, at least personally, if not for YouTube.